Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Happy to join you guys on the buy side once again. We took a couple weeks off, Todd and I. We were out at NADA. Todd wasn't. He got a little ill. Wasn't able to make it. Anthony and I were at NADA, and we'll talk some about that. But welcome this morning to the buy side, where we get really serious about the business of inventory. But before we even dive in to the business of inventory, I really want to spend some time talking to Anthony, getting to know Anthony a little bit more. I know him well, but there might be some people out there who don't know Anthony as well, even though he's been in this industry for a very, very long time. So with that, Anthony, welcome to... How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Good. Thanks for having me on. This should be fun. I like how you said very, very, very was three berries. It wasn't even just like two. It was very, very, very long time. So yeah, I guess I'm old, and with
you're not old.
Elderness comes wisdom. Wisdom is more valuable than probably most anything that we have. So I'm proud to be older and have the experience that I have. So this should be fun to talk about.
Yeah, no, it should be a great morning, great afternoon, just discussing some of what we're seeing in the industry and talking about NADA and what we saw out there. But Todd, how are you, my friend? You've been a little under the weather, but God has you, and you're healing up. You're looking good, man.
So
but how are you?
Public service announcement: do not get shingles. Like, don't. Whatever you got to do. This has been.
I second that.
Yeah, this has been a challenge for me. It's been 30 days. Today is it 30 days of this? 31 maybe, and I'm still hurting, to be quite honest with you. Like, it just won't go away. It's a gift that keeps on giving. So
yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, it is what it is, but that's okay. Lord doesn't give us anything we can't handle. So
yeah,
he's teaching me patience with this one. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we continue to pray for you, my friend. I know a couple of weeks ago we had David Long on, and I remember talking, and you said, "Wow, I feel good. I feel like people have prayed for me, and I've overcome this thing." And then before we know it, you were canceling NADA because you're still feeling the hurts of it, man. So definitely miss you out there.
The night before I was supposed to fly out, like, I didn't get any sleep, and I'm like, you know what? This is God's way of telling me don't go. You don't want to go out to Vegas, and when you're already kind of under the weather anyways, because Vegas just runs you down, and there was no point in getting any more run down than that. So it was one of the first NADAs I've missed in a long time, but it is what it is. But one thing I'm excited about, I'll tell you guys, it's the end of February here. We got like a week. It's the 23rd. Month's almost over, but every dealer I'm talking to is having a really good month. I don't know if you guys are hearing that, but I'm hearing it's been a really, really, really good February. January was a little rough for some. A lot of it to do with the weather, but this month's been really solid for everybody, new and used.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of the same thing, but on the heels of that, Todd, what I'm hearing is the age-old problem that I'm selling a bunch of cars, but I cannot acquire enough inventory. And so there's a level of fear that, as the season continues to move on, it's going to get more challenging for some. And, I was reading some Manheim reports from last week, and the Manheim index is reported to be the highest it's ever been, which is absolutely insane when you think about COVID and everything that happened. And it's the highest that it's ever been. Record highs. Tells you exactly where we're headed, at least for the foreseeable future.
So you and I were texting each other like December, like the second week of December. And I remember us saying, well, you know what? If it was us, and I said, if I was still in business as a dealer, I'd be buying everything and just parking them. Remember you and I were texting about that?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And because the wholesale market was soft and everybody was worried that, the sky was falling and everything else. And you and I said, inventory is going to be short this spring. Everybody's going to wish they had cars. Well, here we are. It's only the third week of February. And everybody was wishing that they bought more cars.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And trade it too, right? Like you should get aggressive in December when business is soft. Like that's the time to step up.
Yeah.
Take some trades.
Yeah. While others are asleep at the wheel, that was a chance to really seize the market and grab your unfair share of the market. And look, I'd be remiss if before we dive into the business, I'd be remiss if I didn't give Anthony really an opportunity just to walk us through his background and who he is. I know he's got, Tyler, his son, who also works for Auto Acquire, and he's got a very talented daughter. But so people know Anthony, but there's a lot of people who don't know Anthony that well, and I want to give him a chance to really tell us, Anthony, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you live in Florida. I know you like fishing, but do you golf? What else do you do?
I used to golf a fair amount, and interestingly enough, I live on a golf course and I very rarely golf. I do live at the end of a driving range, so it's interesting because all the balls kind of funnel down into the big side yard that I have. So when they close at night, I'll walk out there and hit those balls back up the driving hill range. So I get some swings in, but I haven't got out on the course in probably a year or so. I do, when I get some free time with, my wife's a realtor and we have multiple rental properties, and I help with the handyman work on a lot of those. So that keeps us busy. I have a 11-year-old daughter, and my son just had a baby. And so now I'm a grandfather, and a lot of that stuff keeps you busy. So golfing never quite makes it to the list.
Yeah.
I wish it did. Maybe, after we sell Auto Acquire and I finally get to retire like really this time, then I might be able to golf here and there.
Quote that.
A little bit about me.
This is recorded. We know it's recorded. He said retire. He'll probably have another one in him, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, so I find it interesting because you said you'll retire again. So you retired once.
Yeah.
And
I attempted to.
Right.
Yeah.
It took something special to bring you out of retirement, which we'll talk about. But I really want to hear about, so you're going down this path. You have an 11-year-old. Now you're a grandfather, and you retired. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us about that. Tell us a little bit about that journey for people who don't know.
Yeah. So actually, it's a journey that ended up the creation of Auto Acquire. So, a little bit about me going back. Who am I? What did I do? I've been doing this for 30 plus years. I have a degree in architecture. Excuse me. And by mistake in the late 80s, as we all do when we get in this business, many times it's by a mistake. I ended up selling cars just because the economy had dived and architects were being laid off. And I'm in Boston. That's where I grew up in Connecticut. Spent most of my adult life in Boston, went to school there, got my degree, and ended up staying there in and around Boston for most of my life. But I'm selling cars. Selling cars is a necessity. I had to pay some bills, and my neighbor was a car salesman, and he was making good money and had all the hot girls following him around in fancy suits and driving all these crazy cars. And of course, you're an architect, right? So you have quotations around my prestige of being an architect and going to be a car salesman were two really different respect levels in society, I guess that would say. And but I did it because it was a necessity. And long story short, I fell in love with it. I became really good at it because I never understood when they tried to teach me how to lie about it. I never understood how that made sense. And I fought it a lot. I fought why am I going to go lie to this customer? I'm just going to be honest and truthful. And I became really successful with promoting the here's the car, here's why you would like it, and here's how it's going to help you in your family because you're here to buy a car, right? And I'm just going to try to get you to see what I know. And I learned really quick, advanced through the ranks, became a manager, worked in all the departments except service. I did F&I and sales desk and GSM and then GMs and all of the jobs, right? And then 1996, as we all know, and thankfully so, Al Gore invented the internet for us. And when he did that, I became really intrigued.
Thank you, Al Gore. We appreciate that.
Yes, no, I mean, of all the things, that was the one, right? This other thing he kind of got wrong, but that one, I guess he nailed it. Anyways, I became really intrigued, bought a computer, 14.4 modems, and it was just very painful to use the internet, but it was so interesting to me that I couldn't help myself. And I bought a digital camera and quit working at the car dealership, started a consulting business around selling. So I was 9 years into, made it all the way through the ranks and decided, well, here's a little bit of a family part of the story. So Tyler, my son's born, and he's about 3, maybe 4 years old. And I was working, back in those days, and everyone's going to say, oh, you went to school in snow uphill both ways. Well, back in those days in the car business, we worked 9 to 9 and we worked Saturdays and Sundays. And typically you got one day off and one morning or evening off, but that was it. You were working pretty much 6 days, 6.5 days. And if you really wanted to be successful, you didn't take any days off. Like you were like, I'm not going to miss a deal. So I'm going in on my day off, which they encouraged, but was probably the wrong thing to do. But, I was being really successful. I was making a lot of money. And honestly, I got greedy for it and I kept doing it over and over again. And, that's kind of when, the devil sneaks into your life, right? Because you're chasing money and you're forgetting about your family and you're not thinking about everything that you should think about. You're thinking about how can I go make some more money? And so I woke up one morning because I left before he got up, and I typically got home when he was already in bed, and we had this little hallway between our bedrooms. And I got up and I was walking out, and he was up, and he saw me, and he was startled, like he was like almost like afraid, like who's that guy, right? And it really impacted me. So I drove to work that day thinking, I got to do something else. I got to do something else that my kid's not afraid of me because he doesn't see me enough. And I went in and quit. I quit. Wow. And I came home, and my wife was like, what did you do? I'm like, I'm going to start a consulting business, and I'm going to take pictures of cars with that digital camera, and I'm going to post them online. That's what we're going to do now. Granted, this is 1995. 1995, the internet and taking pictures of cars were not a thing. But really fast forward, it became a thing, right? It became a thing. We created a business. Payam Zamani started this business in California with his brother, Frank, called AutoWeb Interactive. And I had started a little consulting company here up there in Boston, Digital Interactive or something similar to that. And we kind of met at a trade show talking about the same thing. And he said, you take the East Coast, I'll take the West Coast. And we went out and sold this thing called AutoWeb. Fast forward, it grew really, really fast. We changed it. We put .com in our name. And I know these are going to be some long stories, but they'll tie into why what's happening in the car business today circles all the way back about these paradigm shifts of mindset and processes and dealers slow to react to things, right? Yeah. Super slow to react and almost very passively aggressive to not do it because they feel like it's this fad type of business, and they're really entrenched in their legacy ways. So we start this, and we change our name to .com, right? All of a sudden, everybody on the planet wants to give us money just because we changed and that was the website. So it was easy. We didn't have to do a lot of shifting around. We had that domain name, and it became really popular really fast. We went all over the country. We went from 100 to 200 to 5 to 9 to 1,000 to 2,000 and hired a bunch of people. We ended up with a big office in Santa Clara, California. And it was pioneering days. We moved everybody from the East Coast. We built the office in Boston and in Atlanta, Georgia. We had one in LA, and the main office was in Santa Clara. We moved everybody to Santa Clara, got a big old office, and we were the thing, man. It was really cool. This internet company in 1996 through 96 to 99, we were able to go public. The company went public in the year, I believe it was February 2000.
Wow.
So go ahead.
So you know, I want to back up a little bit in your story, because one of the things you said that I find interesting, and I think everyone's that we've talked to has sort of been down this path where they're working, they're putting in crazy hours. Their kids, you know, their wives, they don't really recognize them. They're making a bunch of money, and it's everything that you've been chasing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you were told when you were a young man that, hey, this is what you're supposed to chase. And then something happens and you realize, wow, somehow, and something you said that I can appreciate, you said that, you know, the devil sneaks in.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and all of a sudden the things that you thought were important are no longer important because you have things that are falling down around you. And I've been there. I know you've been there, Todd. We had David Long on the show. We had,
Glenn Lundy talked about it
on the show. We had Brian Kramer, and every one of us has sort of had that same sort of story, that something all of a sudden clicks, the devil sneaks in, and all of a sudden a change is needed. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because something clicked to where you said, you know what, this isn't it anymore, and I need to do something different. And it served as a wake-up call, maybe a little bit, from what it sounds like.
Yeah, and it was actually pretty transformational. It wasn't 100%, right? It didn't. You don't just go from like, hey, that you know, I grew up Catholic, so let's talk about like my background around religion. I grew up Catholic, went to a Catholic high school, read the Bible 100 times, and grew up with the faith around the religion, not God, right?
The
Because
ritual.
and I'm not taking a dig at Catholics. I'm taking a dig at the institutionalization of the religion that makes you not realize the point behind it all, right? The stand up, sit down, kneel, and all of these rituals of things that you have to do, the first communion, the confirmations, and the very ritualized. And this is going to get probably further into more than what we talk about. But so think about the time. I graduated high school in 1981. I graduated college in 1985. Right. So I come from Connecticut. Now here I am in Boston, right? I'm kind of a country boy, grew up fishing, hunting, on the water, really wasn't a city guy, but it intrigued me. But here I am in this massive city. And then, you know, Catholic kid, right? And I was proud. I'm a Catholic. And in Boston, you know, in the Northeast, very normal to be Catholic. Well, all of a sudden, this news comes out about the Catholic Church and the priests that are molesting the kids, right? Right around that time, 82, 83. So here I am in the Boston Archdiocese that did it.
Yeah, it was in Boston.
And so here I am in the middle of this, saying I'm a Catholic, and even myself is, of course, I wanted to defend it, but then I started to learn that they were taking those guys and they were moving them around. They were covering it up, and it went on for years and years and years. Well, at that point in time, I kind of said, hey, I'm out. Like I was very confused. I was young. All these things are going on. So that whole piece of it, I was just like, man, I don't even want to be associated with that. So I kind of went down into a path where I didn't even have that anchor to keep my guardrails straight. So it's easy to go chase the money and the fame and your name and the popularity and the fast cars and all of those things. The enemy can easily overtake us as humans, right? And that's what happened. But still inside, right? If you've read the Bible, it doesn't matter about the religion. You still know that there's a higher power and things are here and things are happening, not because of you. You just haven't focused it enough. But anyways, so that was kind of like a Holy Spirit moment. Like, hey, your child's afraid of you. That just as a human, that's not a normal thing to be reactive, to not be reactive to that. So I was able to coach his baseball teams, his basketball teams, his football teams, and to be super engaged as a parent and do things as family, but still go out and create this really cool company called AutoWeb. So that's that piece of the story. And I think it's really important. And, you know, from a lesson perspective, we always chase margins, right?
Yeah.
And that's, and we want to chase margins, but when you look at what are your margins, ask yourself this: do you have a profitable business? Do you have a profitable marriage? What's the margin there? Do you have a profitable relationship with God, right? What's the margin of the time that you get to spend there? What's the margin with your friends and family? So don't just look at margins on a P&L, look at margins in every single line on the P&L in your family, and God and everything else has to be as important, if not more important than the rest of the things, because money comes after. Money comes with all of those things.
Yeah, and it's not yours to begin with, right? Like, you're a steward of the company. You're a steward of the money. You know, God blesses you with it, and it's up to you to ultimately manage it. And sometimes we mismanage, you know, not per se the money end of it, but we mismanage our relationships because of the money, or because of the fame, or because of all of those other things. So let's fast forward a little bit, because you know Todd.
We didn't even got out of 1990, 2000.
We're still on AutoWeb.
Well, so we're gonna hit the fast forward button a little bit, because you know, one of the things that I always appreciate when I talk to you, Anthony, and I always appreciate when I talk to Todd, is that you guys were running very successful businesses, and then decided to do something. And Glenn Lundy kind of told this story as well. Like, he's selling 800 cars a month, 1,000 cars a month, successful. You could keep doing the same thing you were doing,
right?
And you could have a pretty good life. But at some point, Todd sold his dealerships. You know, the king of used cars in the Northeast sells his dealerships, right? You decide to sell not just one, but you've exited a couple of companies, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about the decisions that were made that got you to a place where you say, you know what, I'm going to exit these companies, I'm retiring, and then you land back into an organization that you're with right now in Auto Acquire, but you're successful. You're out there doing things that people would love to be a part of. I hear so many people talk about, hey, I want to do this thing. I'm going to exit this company, and then I'm going to retire. And it really, they're looking to retire because they just want the big payday. But that wasn't necessarily it for you, was it?
No. So, I read a book a long time ago about this guy who watched the railroads being built from the East Coast to the West Coast, and he figured out how far a train could go before they had to stop and get more coal to continue the journey from the East Coast to the West Coast. And he went and started building towns where the train would make it to the next stop where it had to go refill coal. So he started to build towns and communities and cattle and farmland and everything else. And all of these cities started popping up. It was because it was planned, and he figured out where the train was going, not where the train had been. And I always felt like I got to look for where the train's going. Where's the train going? And then I go build my little town. And this happens to be in the car business with software, right? And it started in the car business. It turned into software with AutoWeb. I got back into the car business with, I worked with John Traver. That got bought by CDK. We built a whole, after AutoWeb got acquired, I figured out I had to go train people how to sell internet leads and build infrastructure around the internet, because 2000 through 2004 and 5, dealers were still very, very novice. They didn't even have infrastructure. They didn't have their computers hooked up. They didn't even have Wi-Fi. So that became a business. And then CDK at the time was ADP Dealer Services, buys Traver. I went back into the retail business. That's where I met Matt McGovern and David Rosenberg, who had bought a dealership that I went back to build a BDC, and we ended up building these great BDCs, putting in the coolest of coolest technology. Like, we were way in the cutting edge and putting the call to the person who had the highest skill set. Then I ended up at Sonic doing that for them. I was speaking at a conference, and they wanted me to go build it for their big dealership enterprise. So I did that, but their CRM was eLead, and I ended up becoming the product guy for eLead, out of no software experience in running one of the biggest CRM companies' product division for CLead, and working with AutoNation and Asbury and of course Sonic and all of the guys.
And Anthony, that's how I met you. eLead
Yeah,
is how I met you.
That's right. We were building Deal Builder together. Another, let's build something that nobody's doing and try to figure out this. Is it really going to work? People buying cars and having it dropped off in their driveway.
I remember Sonic was using it first in Echo Park.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I was the second dealer to start to be the guinea pig, right?
Yeah, you were one of the first or second. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I was second to Sonic.
Sounds like that dropping cars off in driveways seems to work, huh?
Yeah. It's interesting because it didn't take off as much as I thought that it would from a dealer to dealer perspective. I think, the Carvana model is really hard to replicate from an infrastructure perspective. But again, here's how we got here. I started, so CDK buys eLead, as we all know, and Hugh Hathcock exits out of that. So I had to go do something else, and let's do something that no one's doing, picking up and dropping up cars with Uber drivers, right? That sounds easy. Turned out to be super, super hard. Where I really started to learn about AI and how it could help. But one of my customers ended up being Carvana and Car Offer, who no longer exists. But the model of adjusting the value of cars in real time with real-time data, specifically for what you need, and in that case, it was Carvana, and then the logistics around it, picking it up, getting the title, making sure the payoff, doing all of the things that are really, really, really hard to do. The light bulb went off in my head. I said, what if I can end up building a small application that any dealer can use to do all of these things? And Draver was the company it ends up selling. And that's when I said, hey, I'm going to do the retirement thing. Chris Ross, who's my partner, drags me back into this business because he had this great idea of instant cash offers. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. That's kind of what Carvana is doing. Ron Morrison on the other side, a pure influencer, saying, hey, I need your help because I built this thing called Vehicle Exchange 2.0, but it doesn't really work. And you're the guy who built Perfect Prospect. So those two guys dragged me back into this business. And here we are, right? We created a company of finding cars and now a bunch of other things, putting values on them instantly on every single VIN, and then the logistics around how to go buy that car directly from the consumer or anywhere and get it in your driveway as a dealer. So super fun project. I'm more than happy to be dragged back into it because it's another one of those absolutely every day is a challenge, but it's also exciting.
Yeah, now super rich history. I want to take some time and just talk about. So, unfortunately, we wanted to connect with Todd at out in Vegas, and we wanted to chop it up and have some dinner, and we didn't get to a chance. So this kind of serves as that, right? Like we're we're getting to all talk and hear a little bit. But I do want to find out, like, so you're walking the floor this year at NADA. You were there last year. And it seems like there, one theme that sticks, from year to year, right? Last year to this year, vehicle acquisition. Everyone's still talking about it. They were talking about it last year. They're talking about it the year before. They're talking about it this year. But somehow there seemed to be a little bit of a change and more of a sense of urgency this year around inventory. But also there seemed to be definitely a definitive interest in AI technology from all walks of the business. Every area of the business, there was someone out there pushing AI, talking about AI, saying they had the latest, greatest version of AI technology. Curious what you saw and what were your thoughts? Like, was that your takeaway from this year?
Yeah, and I honestly, I expected it, right? Listen, AI is transformational. If I look back at AutoWeb and buying cars and having a website to sell your cars online, that was extremely transformational for car dealers. It was way different than anything they ever did. Customers got access to invoice price, and it changed the whole entire game of how you would sell a car. The process that you use, the people that you had to hire, right, to do this, BDCs, internet specialists, internet departments became, a thing that we made money off of. Todd probably still does to this day, improving processes in dealerships that struggle with these things. And it's another full circle, right? Because if I remember my first AutoWeb NADA in New Orleans, there was only a couple of us. And by the next one, there was 7. And then by the next one, there was 25. And then companies like Auto Trader and Cars.com got in the game. So it was this everybody has a shiny thing that they go run to. And it's only a few that end up coming out of that cattle race, right? Or the horse race to get to the other side. And I felt like everybody ran from one side of the boat to the other to run to this shiny AI thing, which isn't a bad thing. But at the same time, I don't think that I saw a lot of companies that have core products that seem to be abandoning the core to go get the shiny jacket, right? And get their picture taken with a celebrity. When AI is an assistant, it's like hiring a bunch of new people to train them to work with you, but that's what it is, right? Yeah. So, listen, I get it. I see these VC and private equity guys dropping 10, 20, 30 million bucks on these companies that do AI voice and text. AI voice and text is an amazing thing, but there's a lot of other things that you need to do to make all of this stuff work. So it was really interesting to me, and good for the guys that figured it out, and we'll see how it plays out. I feel like there's a whole different strategy around AI and how it works in this business that we're going to talk about and make happen here real shortly, if not already.
Yeah, it's kind of, guys, a couple things just want to comment on here. So I wasn't there, obviously. I couldn't get to NADA. I can tell you what I heard, right? I heard from every dealer that was there and every vendor that was there and anybody in the industry that was there said it was one of the best NADAs probably in at least 10 years, right? Like everybody loved the attendance. I think changing up the dates was good, like having it during the week rather than the weekend. Mm-hmm. I heard attendance was through the roof. I heard vendors did extremely well and got good return on their investment. Yeah, every booth was slammed. Like that's what I heard. I'll share this with you guys, right? And I'm a student of this industry, as you know, and I'm also a student of technology, especially with how it applies to the automobile business. I will tell you that my biggest concern for dealers out there that are looking at this quote unquote AI technology is that they're looking at it no differently than the technology that's already currently out there for auto, where we have a widget for this, we have a piece of software that does that, we have a pop-up that does this, we have disconnected systems, we have a CRM, we have a DMS. They're from 2 different vendors. We have a vendor for this, we have a vendor for that, a dashboard for this, a dashboard for that, and they don't all talk to each other properly, right? Like most of them, not even close. Some of them gotten a lot better, but it's still very disconnected. And where you really find how disconnected it is if you actually mystery shop a dealer, right? Mystery shop a dealer on the telephone, mystery shop a dealer on their website. Like, I challenge you to do that, and you will see, and then do chat, like do all that at the same time. And it's a horrible experience for a customer. So now I'm a dealer. Well, I'm going to get this voice AI that does this, and I'm going to get this follow-up from this vendor that follows up with all my customers. And it's going to be a disaster, an absolute disaster. The winner, in my opinion, is the dealer that, number one, recognizes that. And I think you got to crawl, walk, run. But more importantly, for anybody out there that's in the software business, who's building this technology, really needs to find a way to piece all of this together so it's completely cohesive. Because if you've got AI doing things and you've got people doing things and they're doing maybe the same thing at the same time, they're not going to be talking. They're not going to work together. These AI agents are going to be able to do jobs better than a human being consistently every single time. But if you've got an AI that's doing it perfect and giving a customer one message, and then you've got a person that may not be doing it so perfect, or be giving the customer a different message because he's not seeing what the AI is doing, then the customer is going to be completely confused. And that's my biggest fear where we are right now. I think eventually, once it all shakes out, I think that ineffective follow-up is going to be a thing of the past. I think that anybody that goes to a dealer website to buy a car, schedule a service appointment, in my opinion, will have a truly best-in-class follow-up experience that they've ever had. It'll be probably at least another 12 to 24 months before that happens. So what's going to be most important is handling people properly, face-to-face in a showroom, because the to-dos, right, that have to be done in the CRM now are going to be over with. Like, you're not going to have to follow up as a salesperson like you had to do in the past. All that's going to be done for you. All you need to be able to do as a salesperson is know your product, have great personal communication skills with people, and just be able to really sell cars. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to get way more throughput per salespeople, and you're going to reduce headcount in BDCs, maybe eliminate BDCs altogether someday. But it's going to be a while. But between now and then, I think it's going to be really muddy and really ugly. And if you're a dealer and if you signed up for all this stuff, you better mystery shop yourself and see exactly what a customer is experiencing. So I know I kind of ranted a little bit, but I wanted to get that out because I think it's really important for this discussion that we're having, guys.
Yeah, no, I think you hit on a lot of things there, Todd. And, if I heard you right, like, one of the things that dealers are going to have to figure out is how to make sure these things are all integrated and talking to each other properly, so that it doesn't create havoc for the consumer. And really, that's what we're faced with. I talked to some dealers as well, who, on the flip side of this, there are dealers out there that still believe that AI is a bit of hype, right? Like, it's here today and it won't necessarily stick around, because look, in this industry, we know there's been things that have been rolled out. They show up and then they eventually go away. But, I guess I would pose the question to both of you, and I'll let you answer first. But, is AI, is it hype or is it the future?
It's the future. Listen, it's over, right? There's no way that we go backwards from AI. There's no way that car dealers survive without full adoption and understanding of how it can help them run their business, right? So AI is amazing at doing tasks that are repetitive, that humans, one, don't like to do, or do super inefficiently. AI is really good at learning how to get better every single time it does something. And it's really good at telling all of its AI buddy agents how they can get better from what it just learned. Think of, so at eLead, we had 1,000-person call center in Valdosta, Georgia. It was one of our biggest revenue streams that we had in the company, and SaaS software is a big revenue stream. That thing printed money. You know why? Because we were doing things that humans didn't want to do, like call a customer and remind them that they had an appointment today. Call a customer before their service and say, hey, did you think about getting your 60K done? Or I would like to buy your car, and when you come in, we'll appraise it, and I can probably get you in the car for a lower payment or around the same payment with a brand new warranty. Is that something you're interested in? Well, humans really didn't like to do that, so we just paid $10 an hour agents to do it, human agents. I can now make that call every single day times 100,000 times, not 1,000 agents. Like literally the scale doesn't matter, right? If you got enough money to pay for the computing power, the agent's going to do it. And it's going to do it over and over again. It's going to get better and better, smarter and smarter, know when to call, when not to call. It's going to know exactly what the customer wants. Todd talked about when you go on a dealer's website, that almost won't ever happen. Like you won't go on a dealer's website. You're going to say, hey, whatever your agent's name that's in your pocket, I need to schedule a service appointment with McGovern Honda on my Civic on Thursday next week. See if there's any availability. And it's going to come back and says, we have 8:30 or 10:15. Which one's best? And you're going to pick the one. It's not. And when I'm looking for a car, I'm not going to go search these crazy websites with pop-ups and get like, it's just not going to happen. And even if I do that experience, even if I do it, it's going to say, welcome back, Anthony. You've got 3 cars. Your lease is due in 2 months. Your F-150 is worth $35,500. Click here because we want to buy it. Your next service is due. Click here and we'll schedule it. No, by the way, you forgot to do your tire rotation last time, so we're just going to add that one. And that's going to be my experience. And it's also going to say, oh, and your license. So drivers have a bunch of tasks that are repetitive, and dealers have a bunch of tasks that are repetitive. The system that we're building and that other companies I'm sure will build, we might want to leave this part out, is that the repetitive task, the maintenance will be reminded automatically. My renewals of my license, my registration, my smog inspection, my tires are worn out, my this or that, repetitive things that drivers need to know will like it's going to say, hey, Anthony, your driver's license is due on your birthday. It's $265. You don't need to take a picture. Click here, and the connection is going to be to the DMV. It's going to happen. It's going to show up, or send me a digital copy. I think physical driver's licenses go away. I think they become digital copies, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So like all of the things right now, Todd said 12 to 18 months. I can probably replace today. I can probably replace a small BDC of 3 or 4 people today, with calls and emails and inventory management and marketing and data mining and all of those things. The agents can do all of that today. You bring the human in when the agent gets stuck or can't go far enough, and that's becoming, that gap is getting narrower and narrower every day. So, and I'm not trying to doom and gloom the automobile industry and the employees of it, but they're going to have to reshift what they do, right? They're going to have to reshift what they do on their day to day, because those every day picking up the phone and pressing emails, that will absolutely disappear.
So
go ahead,
Todd. No, go ahead.
So the most important thing that a dealer is going to need to train people on, right? We use that word, quote unquote, training.
Yep.
Is teaching their salespeople how to communicate properly with a person face to face.
Yep.
Right. Which doesn't always happen, right? Like, not the way that it should. And because there should be time for that made throughout the day. I'm a firm believer that, one of the biggest problems in our industry is people are just chained to their desk. They're stuck looking at dashboards all day long. They're stuck looking at reports all day long. They got Zoom calls. They got this vendor coming in for this. They've got to deal with somebody from the factory coming for that. So people that are, managers are really people that are leaders in the business, whether it's a GSM, sales manager, GM, service manager, whoever, service manager, they cannot be out with their people, interacting with the people that report to them in the dealership, their customers, because of the fact that they're chained to a desk with all of these repetitive tasks like Anthony talks about. So I think it's exciting, and I think it should be embraced, because as a dealer, one of the things that was always very frustrating to me was, we used to, when I had turnover in the dealership, it really bothered me, right? And we used to track it. I had an HR director, and he tracked, why did we lose this person? And I always felt like, what? Where did we go wrong with this person? This was a talented human being that we could have really, spent some more time with to train, but my people were just inundated with this stuff, right? For sure. AI will free up these talented people that all dealers have in their dealerships. Really talented people work at car dealerships, right?
Yes.
People who work at a car dealership have multiple talents, doing a lot of different things. Well, one of them is people skills for the most part. They don't have time for that because of all this other nonsense. This nonsense is going to disappear, just like you were saying, Anthony. 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, as AI continues to evolve, that will be gone. And interpersonal communication skills are going to be key. And it's not taught. The problem is it's not taught in college, right? Like it should be, right? Maybe some degrees, but not so much. And unfortunately, and again, not to be negative, but I'm a realist. A lot of these kids that are in their 20s that are coming into the business now, they grew up on these, right? They grew up on phones and they grew up on iPads, right? And how did they communicate? They didn't look people in the eye and shake people's hands and have face-to-face conversations. They communicate like this with their thumbs.
That's right.
So they're going to have to be retrained how to actually interact with human beings. And I'm talking about things that may seem basic to the three of us here, and maybe a good portion of our audience. People are going to need to be trained how to do that all over again. And that's going to be not by AI. That's going to be people actually training you to do it. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, the old school trainers in the business, right? We all know who they are. There's plenty of them out there that are really, really good. All those training videos that are out there. I think those are going to come back in vogue, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, I really do.
It's a good point.
So anyways, that's my take.
I love it.
Great take, Todd, Anthony. We're coming, man. It seems like we just started talking and we're coming.
Yeah, we're already over time.
I told you this was going to go. This could go way long.
but we'll definitely, Anthony, we'll have you back on because there's so much more that we can unpack. But as we come to the close of this, everyone in our audience is listening, and some are trying to piece all of this together and figure out how do they bring this full circle back to the buy side? Because one thing's for sure, Anthony, Todd, Anthony, myself, we watch auctions. We watch cars every single day. I'm looking at an auction just to see what cars are doing because I want to stay in tune with the market. But what we also know is that in order to buy inventory, it's, to your point, a lot of these tasks that you have to do as a buyer become so grueling, so tough to do. If you're buying at the auction or whether you're buying from consumer, you got to look at the CR. You got to look at all the photos. You got to look at all the notes. You got to look at the recalls. You got to look at the Carfax, the auto check, where the car was sold, who sold the car, did an auction sell the car and now it's bad. All of these factors come into play for the average buyer or used car manager. And they're listening to this and going, man, all of that sounds like really cool stuff. And if I'm sitting in this seat, how do I use all of what you're talking about? How do I use auto acquire AI to go out and help me source inventory? So with that, drum roll, Anthony.
Boom. Listen.
What do you got?
Yeah. So Todd brought up a really good point, and I'll piggyback it, because he said you're going to have this application doing this and this agent doing that and this agent calling out to remind us service appointments, and then there's going to be all of this chaos, right? And listen, it already is chaos. Go on a dealer's website. There's 9 different plug-in widget applications that are all over the place. You have to start to get, my wife's great at this. She likes to clean stuff out and minimize it, right? Like, the closets are organized because there's not a lot of junk in it. The garage looks like a showroom because everything's in its neat place. Our dealership websites are atrocious these days because it has all of this stuff on it. And then you have the chat plugin. And then in our business, specifically for your question, there's these widgets that we put on the dealership's website. You go on some of them, there's 3 or 4 of them. We send out marketing messages.
For buying cars,
right?
Exactly.
I'm not going to mention everybody's name because I don't want to give them a free plug, but there's plugin widget A, B, C, and D, and they're on different pages. One might be on the lease return in page, another one's on the main site, another one's on the dealership site, and then they're trying to figure out why the customer has 5 different offers, and the customer's saying, "Well, these guys are crazy." And one of them, all of a sudden, you launch an AI agent to one, and they start following up the customers, and then the CRM does it, and then if you don't build a unified platform that they can all talk to each other and the last one knows what the other one did, so they can do these literal handoffs, then you're going to end up in a really tough place. But if you can do that, then Frank, you give your guys the tools to go say, was it sold by an auction, and am I at the right price? But I'm looking at one source that's taking in all of the sources to do everything and streamline it, giving that person all the tools that they need so that they can do the really important things. Figure out if it's the right price, that they're buying at the right time, and then have a real conversation with that customer, right? To buy that car. So if you're buying it off the street or if you're buying it from the auction, you're making the right decision, but you've got a unified platform, communication, vehicle valuations, inventory management, bring it all into one.
And I know that we've done Auto Acquire has done a really, really great job of doing just that. And, for dealers out there that are listening, that have not had a chance to demo Auto Acquire, where should they go, Anthony?
Go to the website, autoacquireai.com. There's click the demo link. It will contact our sales team. We have a AI bot widget that you can ask it questions if you want to. It can walk you through maybe some questions. We publish pricing on our website, so we're fully transparent. You can figure out exactly how much it's going to cost you. And if you want it for free, we have a version that you can just have it at no charge. Put the plugin on your website. We'll give you our patented dials to let you set the price, and you can try it out. And we won't charge you because we know that it works, and we want to give as much dealers the same fair advantage that some of these other big companies have.
Fantastic. Todd, close us out. What are your final thoughts?
So just, a couple things, right? Like, Frank, you and I, we made a commitment to Anthony, right? Like when we first met him, you decided to basically up and leave your career to go and work for Anthony, right? Work for his company and be the COO of Auto Acquire. And myself, I chose a strategic advisory role, which, and I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, but I get a lot of calls from a lot of different people. Do you want to invest? Do you want to be a strategic advisor? Or, will you, spread the word about my product and I'll send you a check? And I say no 98% of the time. When you meet a guy like Anthony and you look at his history in the industry, but more importantly, what we really talked about at the beginning of this conversation, and through a good part of it was, his faith and trust in the Lord, and his integrity, right? And his intentions behind everything he does, that he builds. It's to better the industry. I mean, that's why I will tell you that I'm here and I'm associated with Auto Acquire as an investor and as a strategic advisor, because of the fact of Anthony's character. And, he's a visionary. And, I wanted to include that in this conversation. And we're not here to plug, right? Like Frank and I do the buy side, obviously sponsored by the acquirer, but we're not here to plug product every week. We're here to talk, to have really good conversations about just life in the car business, what we see going on in the industry. But, and we're not here to plug, but, I'm just being honest, like, it's a really good product, right? And I would tell any dealer out there, and there's multiple products out there you can put on your website to give customer an offer, but there's a lot more to auto acquire than just giving a customer an instant cash offer. And I would encourage people out there to do a demo or demos, because I think you need to do more than one, and really dig into what this product can do. Because if I could tell you, if I still own dealerships, I would have this in my stores. Like I just would, right? And it's up to dealers to use what product they want to use, but I would use it. And I would use it for everything that has the capacity to do, because it can do so much. Because acquiring inventory, especially from your own database, is less expensive. And I don't want to say easier, but it's definitely better than the wholesale car auction route. Because to go the wholesale car auction route, you better be a pro. And I don't care if you're doing OVE, if you're doing ACV, smart auction, or you're in the physical lanes. If you are not a professional in 2026, then you better stay out of the auction lanes, because you're going to get hurt if you do. So I'm going to leave it at that.
No doubt.
Yeah. Well,
Todd, I appreciate those kind words, and it means a lot to me coming from guys like you and people in the industry. It's, NADA is a very humbling time, because I see people that I either worked with or got them a job, and they're now, COOs and CEOs. It's very rewarding to me, and to be blessed with a guy like Frank to be on our team is, listen, I joked about it in the beginning. I said at some point it's an unfair advantage, because we just got such an amazing team that are truly honest, hardworking visionaries that are out here rolling up their sleeves and making this happen. So I really appreciate it, and we're excited. Like we're bringing it. We're bringing some legit product and services to the table, and we're leaning into this AI. But trust me, it's got to be more than just that. The people have to be part of it, and it can't just be this shiny thing. I have AI. That's not it. And that's right. And that's all I can say. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Anthony, we certainly appreciate, we know how busy you are, and we appreciate you taking the time on a Monday morning when, you're playing a little bit of catch up on a Monday morning to begin with, but to take time to work with Todd and I and really spread the word, not only the word about Auto Acquire, but, spread the gospel.
The word.
What God is doing in people's lives.
Yes.
We certainly appreciate you taking the time. Join us next week. So next week we're going to have Rob Dell on from Bob Ruth Ford.
That's a good one.
All Ford dealer in PA that's doing unbelievable volume and has a goal of being able to acquire 1,000 cars a month, I think is the number that he said he wants to be able to do. And he's partnered with Auto Acquire on some products or projects, and wants us to come up with some solutions for him. And we're going to continue to work with people who are innovative, who want to drive forward, because that's what we're all about. Tune in next week for an episode of The Buy Side. And we look forward to you guys not only just watching, but please share with individuals across all networks.
Yep.
Thank you. And this is The Buy Side.